We're here today with Kris, CEO of Medibio. Kris, thanks for your time.
Thank you, David.
Kris, can you explain a little bit about the Medibio business?
Yeah, look, basically we've got sort of our core technologies. We've developed a evidence-based or objective test for the key mental health disorders, depression and anxiety disorder, as opposed to traditional pen and paper tests, which is based on a psychiatrist asking patient questions, and then depending on how they answer or what he feels they've answered, he makes his diagnosis. So we're looking at their biology. In this case, it's their architecture of their heart rate curve while they're asleep. So really we're taking a snapshot of the autonomic nervous system by the heart rate while they're asleep, and there's no influences. And then the second part of the technology, using the same technology, different set of algorithms, we've developed a tool that will effectively put you into one of 6 stress categories based on how stress is impacting your biology. So sort of 2 streams, medical and also stress.
And how advanced are your 2 products along the commercialisation path?
Okay, so medical first. We've had our first meeting with the FDA. All went very well. It was quite encouraging. They confirmed we're on the right path for FDA approval. We've started our pivotal study with Johns Hopkins in the US. Aim is to have our FDA submission go in early next year with FDA approval sometime second half, mid-2017. In terms of the stress product, we're actually generating revenue now. Admittedly, it's in the pilot phase, but we've got a couple of key strategic wellness partners on board. We're running some commercial pilots, probably look to roll that out commercially in the next 2 to 3 months. So, commercialising the stress side, which doesn't need FDA approval or TGA approval as we speak.
And in terms of the size of market you're operating in, how do you quantify that?
Look, in terms of the market, we take the medical market. Depression alone, we've had some external work done, probably a $20 billion revenue opportunity. Take the US, there's sort of 20 million GP visits annually where the outcome is mental health disorder. There's some rebate codes for remote cardiac monitoring. The US will leverage under about $40 rebate to us. You sort of take those 20 million at sort of $40 US, that's $1 billion Aussie revenue. Monitoring patients with depression, we've done some research that probably monitor depressed patients quarterly, be around about a half the revenue. So you're talking 16 million patients in the US with depression at $100 a head. There's another $1.6 billion revenue market. So that's depression in the US alone. Corporate stress market, our sort of target audience is probably those corporates that have got more than 1,000 staff. 80 to 90% of those already have a wellness program. They're spending $300 to $400 annually on their staff, Apple Watches, fitness work, corporate retreats. We're looking to capture sort of 15% of that market, so 50 million people at $60 annually for our stress test. There's a sort of $1.5 to $2 billion revenue opportunity in the US as well. So there's sort of 4 key markets, and they're all multi-billion dollar markets for us.
So how competitive is the market in which you operate?
Look, I mean, all of the research dollars in the US are going to look for a biomarker for depression, so we're not naive enough to think that competitors won't emerge. They'll find other biomarkers. There's a blood test Ridge Diagnostics have developed and a marketing which retails for about $800. There's some EVG technology out of Monash that's again about a $400 or $500 test. EEG work, Johns Hopkins have done some preliminary work that looks like they can differentiate depressed and non-depressed. Again, that's a $500 or $600 procedure. I mean, our competitive advantage is that under the current US arrhythmia codes, we're a sort of all up $100 rebate for our test, and we make good money at that level. So it's more about competitive advantage and price point. We're sort of a factor of 5 times cheaper than any other potential competitor, and that's what you need.
Now, in terms of looking forward, what milestones should investors be looking at from the company over the next sort of 6 to 12 months?
Key milestones, we should have our Australian corporate partner for stress signed up and announced in the next 2 to 3 months. We should have our Johns Hopkins external validation results for the depression diagnostic out in the next 3-4 months. We should have our FDA submission underway as well. We should be sort of a couple of these commercial pilots on the stress side completed, results out, and hopefully they're rolling into commercial arrangements as well. So there's a fair bit of news in the system.
Thanks for your time.
Thanks, David.